Welcome to Richard and Greg, a channel dedicated to discussion, debate and argument on a whole array of topics. Now, yesterday evening, Greg and I had a discussion which we are publishing today, being Wednesday the 30th of June, where we discussed the future of the Richard and Greg channel, where we are proposing a change of focus and potentially change of name, where we will be focusing more on DeFi, alternative investments, and also moving into the crypto and blockchain universe. These changes will obviously encourage your support as our subscribers, and also hopefully will attract new members to the channel, which to some degree has been rather slow in picking up. So let's take a listen to that discussion and a look at what the future may behold. Welcome to Richard and Greg. It's Wednesday, 29th of June, 2021, and it's 20:03 GMT +1, so it's quite late in the evening. Well, it's been a while since we've published a video on this channel, and it's been a while since we've spoken with Greg. And we thought that perhaps today, now that I've managed to get Greg onto the channel, onto the Zoom call, we thought it appropriate that we basically say what's been happening and some exciting plans for the channel. So without further ado, Greg, good evening.
Good evening. And since it's basically been my fault that the exciting bit has happened, i.e. we haven't been here, I've been off for two reasons. Primarily, I've been helping an 85-year-old neighbour who lives on her own, whose husband died a couple of years ago. And we discovered that she was living in a house that, due to lack of maintenance, was basically untenable. So I've been supervising builders and organizing scaffolding and all the other tedious things that go with it. And we're doing a complete makeover of her house, decorating every single room, because it was so damp, a problem we've now solved. But in the middle of that, I also managed to contract a cold and cough, something I have maybe once every 10 years. And no, it wasn't COVID or COVID related. I get swabs on a regular basis and blood tests because I'm in the target zone. Having been swabbed on a regular basis, it definitely wasn't COVID or COVID related. However, one of the problems was that if I talked for more than sort of 30 or 40 seconds, it made me cough, which makes doing podcasts really rather tedious, not just for me, but for everyone. So I'm now okay. It seems to have gone away. I've spoken this long and I haven't coughed, nor had a coughing fit, totally inexplicably. However, we're back on the road again.
Well, Greg, you have been missed. People have asked about you. Even while on the Illuminati Silver channel, we've still been putting out in recent weeks daily videos. And in fact, the other day we put out 3. There was a small time period whereby there was a sort of dearth of videos. That was partly down to my lack of availability as well. But we're back on track now. One of the issues that did arise while you've been off has been some focus on the IS channel of cryptocurrencies and what is commonly known as DeFi. And for those who aren't aware of what that is, it's decentralized finance, normally referred as DeFi, and it's a blockchain-based form of finance that doesn't rely on central financial intermediaries like brokerages, exchanges, or banks, etc., in which people can use what's called smart contracts on blockchains in order to actually lend and invest. And this is an area that's going to boom. Whatever one may think of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general, the actual, shall we say, platforms, the technology behind them are gaining apace. And whether cryptos have a future or not, the actual blockchain platform is being looked at very seriously by a number of central banks and major financial institutions. And we wondered, in view of the fact that you and I having a general chat now and again on things like climate change and a few other subjects, isn't really setting the world alight or attracting huge numbers of people. We sort of wondered whether it would be more appropriate to dedicate the channel, and we might even change the name slightly, dedicate the channel to this alternative form of finance, where we would still discuss investments, where we would still touch on precious metals, but more focus on things like cryptocurrencies and blockchains and DeFi and the future for digital money. What are your thoughts, Greg?
I think there is obviously a very growing interest for this. It's amounting to billions, particularly of dollars, even on a global basis. I personally could write on the back of a postage stamp with a felt tip pen my understanding and knowledge of it, also thereby my enthusiasm for it. I shall not be learning the new skills because, quite honestly, I don't think I'll ever get around to using them. So I won't be partaking other than in a conceptual basis in the definance concept. However, the points that Richard and I have discussed in the past, be they electric cars, climate, world events, the introspection of given countries, the interface of different economies, as we have discussed on a not regular enough basis, does affect investment and Bitcoin and definance in general. So we will continue with the channel as it was, but meld it with Richard's side, which will be the definance and blockchain, etc. I think that will give a balance to one and all. I'm sure I'll learn something of definance, probably more than I want to, but there is no doubt that what is going on in the world in general affects finance. We look at just one quick example. There is great debate going on at the moment about climate change and the belief that there is a possibility that Bill Gates has a very, very jaundiced approach to climate change and that he is putting out propaganda for a specific reason. That specific reason being that Bill and Melinda Gates, although they are divorcing or divorced, are between them the largest single agricultural landowners in America in a private capacity. So obviously it is going to pay him very well to claim the subsidies, not only of destroying the landscape with wind turbines and solar panels, both of which actually use more energy of fossil fuel than they do produce of what is supposedly called clean energy and renewable. Oh yeah, it's renewable. Wind turbines are renewable about every 12 years and solar panels are renewable, it would seem, about every 15 years. You have to keep renewing the damn things using huge quantities of fossil fuels to manufacture the steel and the cement that goes into the bases of wind turbines by the thousands of tons. And when you think that the silicon of solar panels has to be heated to 1800 degrees, and you'll note that solar panels are black, achieved by coal. So they aren't as clean as they sound. And don't forget, on top of that, solar panels are a hazardous waste and will cost probably more bearing in mind inflation, to dispose of dead ones than to have made the new ones in the first place.
So what we're going to aim to do, very shortly, the channel will change its name to Crypto Plus, that's CRYPTO plus, PLUS, which means we'll be talking about cryptocurrencies plus other things, other forms of finance. So for those who are already subscribed, please do not be surprised if you see the name and logo change over the course of the next couple of days. That said, we'll still be around, and hopefully I'll be able to produce, I'm aiming for 5 videos a week, whereas on the Richard and Greg, we were just about managing 2 until the recent sort of demise of video publications. And you and I can continue then with subjects, as you say, that are really ancillary to whether it be politics or whether it be, as you say, climate or environmental issues or other forms of investments and how they can affect the so-called crypto universe. So as soon as I managed to transfer the name to Crypto Plus, we just didn't want any of our subscribers to think, oh my goodness, what the heck's going on? Very little has changed, just the name, and hopefully it will gain newer, additional subscribers and perhaps some younger ones too, because this is the sort of subject that younger people seem to be most interested in. And I'll share a quick story with you, Greg. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been attending some online conferences with very senior bankers across the world, all involved in so-called DeFi. They have DeFi departments in various banks, and some of them were heads of digital banks. And when I asked them about how advanced they were in terms of blockchain, I have to admit the answer was not that encouraging. And the excuses I was given really were based upon available talent out there is difficult to get. And if you bear in mind that a lot of these cryptocurrency platforms like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, like Cardano and others who are already advancing in smart contracts on this blockchain, they're going to be miles ahead of the traditional banks, which shocks me because the traditional banks have the financial resources to fund these sorts of things. They're running behind, Greg, and if they're not careful, they may very well find that their futures will not only be limited, but may disappear altogether. And these are the subjects we shall be covering. Anything you wish to add?
Well, I'm glad to hear that I'm not alone in being of the older generation who isn't up to speed on this. And I think it is very much 2 things at once: a young man's market and a gambler's paradise. But then again, I've tended to look on banking as a gambler's paradise for the last 60 years, in that I know we have had many discussions, Richard and I, where he is of the opinion that nothing would happen without bankers and that bankers are the great facilitators. And my position is nothing actually happens until somebody produces or sells something, and the bankers are the great parasites who sit on its back. So the difference of opinion will no doubt continue and develop.
Now, don't put words in my mouth. I've never said they weren't parasites. I have said so far they have been essential, but we've paid a heavy price for that utility. Greg, we'll discuss that again. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Good night.
Good night. We hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if so, kindly subscribe to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of our videos as and when they are published. And also in the description box below, we place links to certain books, articles and programs which you may find of benefit, and for which we will receive a small commission should you purchase through our link. And this will help support our channel and to enable us to develop it further.